Welcome. Cougar Mountain Software's goal is to provide the best possible products for our customers. Part of our product quality is having the ability of sharing different versions from outside to work with Denali. One of those is Expensify. Expensify is a process for uploading a receipt or invoice as quick as one click. This could be next day reimbursements. This could be automatic workflows. This could be automatic syncing of your accounting to people that are on the road for travel for the company. It just makes it easier to get the receipts and faster into your business expense report that you might have to turn, especially if you're gone a long time. Other parts of the receipts that you can Expensify is also part of preventing duplicate scans or bad receipts that somebody is taking advantage of you. All of these are part of the Expensify. So let's see how it works. The travel person on the outside would have on their smartphone an Expensify download that gave them an app. From this app, then the traveler just has to open it. Once open, the gentleman or the lady, that's the traveler, can now take a picture of their receipt. Your company will give you the information needed for each detailed receipt or just a copy of the receipt of the company you bought some expenditures for. They will then fill out the information for the approver that might need more information than just how much, the date, and where did you go. Is selecting where it will go on the expense account. Now, in this case, I try to tell people to limit it to very small portions so they can easily pick the right one to go with the receipt. In this example, we have a training one and, of course, meals and entertainment. From here, they select that, and now they can send it into what Expensify calls the concierge. From the concierge or the controller, then they would get that information of how much they spent on the business card or for reimbursement. Once selected, you have all the information the concierge might need. Now on top right, you'll be able to submit this and just select that. The receipt's on its way and ready for approval by the concierge or your controller. Inside the office, the first thing that they'll have to do is they'll see the expenses. They can look at the expenses for a day, for a week, or for any type of travel period that they have. They can bring them all up one at a time by the date, or they can look at it as a group date. The outside traveler then will send all those expenses to be entered in Expensify. Here, each individual receipt will be waiting for the concierge or the controller to approve. If there's any doubt or not approved, the concierge will make that choice. Once the report exists, then it can be submitted for approval. They can submit the expense reports as usual to check and balance if they want, from what they turned in to what they have on their expense report. Or they can just send it into the office as just an expense report, and the report has to be all recorded by the traveler. If certain reports are used for reimbursement, these also can be marked separately. Let's say I have a credit card that the company has approved me to use, and I have some partial payments to go onto the credit card. At the same time, I bought something that's on my personal use, but because I was traveling, I will be reimbursed for it. Here, they can choose whether or not it's a reimbursement to be approved or not reimbursed. Once done, we can add these into Cougar Mountain very easily by selecting the Setup Expensify integration here in Cougar. Once open, then we will now put in the partner use, that in other words, the traveler's ID, the secret password, and the next invoice number that they have taken a picture of to select it to put into Cougar. That way, the invoice number that you used on the road matches the invoice number that you have in Cougar Mountain. Adding approved receipts in Denali is quite easy also. We would go into it to import that information that we just saw into Cougar Mountain. Opening it up, the expenses from Expensify, we can now do it by a list of dates, or we could do it by travelers, or we can even do it by credited merchants that have been approved already. When doing so, you then can put in your expense dates and import those expenses from their smartphone into each one of the categories that we need for our vendors. Here would then be, because we used a date range, all the expenses that we have put in here waiting for you to do a second approval inside Denali as if it was a reconciliation. These can now be checked where it says exclude. You can take off the ones that have not been approved or you do not know anything about. It's all about how you use your mouse and how fast you can go on it. Adding approved receipts to Denali then would come up in this particular case, and all the information, including your general ledger lines, the totals for that particular vendor, would be entered into Denali. All you have to do is maybe check the date, make sure the invoice is correct, or you can even change the dollar amount here if you want. The controller or the concierge is now doing the approval, and at the same time the clerk is making sure the dollar amounts match. A little check and balance for you. Setting up the approved merchants, these are merchants that have been approved ahead of time for where a traveler can go, is quite easy, where you set up the merchants, you put in the date, and these particular merchants would come up where they would see the merchant and what they can use as payment. In this case, American Express or the Hertz car rental, all of this information can go onto the company card. Ones that are not approved would have to be used only when they call the concierge or the controller and get an approval for it. Adding approved receipts then to Denali is the same exact way. I approve the merchants. I've sent over that information. This works the same way as what we've seen prior to that in AP, but I'm now using the approved merchants. Here we see the same exact thing where we can change, if we want, the dollar amount. We can now change the general ledger account numbers. We can now change anything we want on here that has been brought over for editing purposes. Otherwise, there is no change, and it's just instant where you bring it in, you check the dates maybe, and you're on to the next step for entering the bills. That's it. Quite easy. It's just a nice little thing from a smartphone to Cougar Mountain into your AP module to work easily for you. We try at Cougar Mountain, whether you're nonprofit or profit, to do anything we possibly can to make your solutions much easier. For more information, you can call your sales executive at the number you see on the screen, or you can email us at sales@cougarmtn.com. Enjoy your software.